Hello and welcome to my second video here. In this video, I would go through the setup in Studio One just to show you how we set up a session in Studio One to communicate with the mixer here. The connection between Studio One and the mixer is firewire. So basically, we have to set up Studio One so that the audio signal would send from the mixer to Studio One, process it, and then return it. In this video, I would not talk too much about the plugins. I will save the plugins setting for another video when I go into each instrument individually. This video specifically just to get you set up. Again, I have to assume that you know your mixer, you have a digital mixer, and you have Studio One, and you know how to use Studio One, okay? Of course, I'm gonna go through a little basic, anything that I can say about Studio One without going to any length or depth of Studio One, because this video is not about how you use Studio One, okay? So I assume that you know something. All right, let's jump into it. So as you can see that this is my mixer. The mixer contains all of the instrument in the beginning, and then after that, you see more of a microphone, and then all the stereo input from PC, from mobile devices, okay? So that's how I set it up. I don't know how you set up your mixer, but this is how I set up my mixer. As you can see on the screen here, that I have some of the channel or stereo and some of the channel or mono, okay? So like, for example, the drum bus here is a stereo. You can see the two triangle panning left and right. And then other channel, like a guitar, is a mono, and then another guitar is a mono channel. So you see stereo and mono channel in the mixer. And when you set up Studio One, you need to reflect the stereo and mono accordingly, okay? So let's just go into Studio One here. So this is my session, okay? So basically, this is what I use at church to run the program, okay? But let's start out with a start page, okay? So when you boot up Studio One, this is what you see. Basically, I'm not gonna talk about everything here, but one main thing in this start page that you wanna pay attention is this icon right here in the middle. If you see your mixer show up here, that's great. That means that your mixer is detected and it's ready to go, okay? If you don't see your mixer here and you see something else, maybe your Studio One detect the sound card on your computer, it detect another audio interface that you connect to your computer. So you can have multiple audio interfaces connected to your computer, but only one that Studio One can use at a time, okay? So if you don't see your mixer here, make sure you go to configure audio device and then pick it from the list here. So you click on it and then you can just pick your mixer. All right, so that's it for this page, and everything in Studio One is either a song or a project. So you can create a new song. That's what you see here when I pull up my session. It's actually a song in Studio One, okay? I don't know, it doesn't make sense because it's not a specific song, but Studio One call it a song because this is where you have your song mix and all of the channel of that song. For now, if you want to create something for this session, you want to create a new song, okay? Let's say you create a new song, all right? And I'm gonna keep everything as default here because I usually use 48 kHz as a sample rate, 24-bit, and so on and so forth. And I wanna create an empty song, okay? Say okay on that, and you're gonna pull up the empty song here, all right? So you see in the corner here, you have browse, mix, and edit. What you really pay attention to is browse and mix, okay? So the browser would show you of the instrument. These are the virtual instrument that Studio One detected and ready for use, okay? So as you can see, there's presonus stuff. If you go to presonus, you see all of the plugins for virtual instrument will show up here. And you go to another like a Toontrack, you see the easy key and the superior drummers will show up. And if you go to wave, you see this. One is a piano, electric piano, and then the other one is a synthesizer. On the second tab, it's an effect. This is where you use the most, okay? The effect is like all of the effects that you can put on a channel to affect that channel, okay? So you still have a lot of plugins natively from Studio One that you can use here. And if you have other plugins that will show up here, like Sawtooth, I use it a lot. Toontrack, I have ezmix to use. And then Wave, I have tons of plugins from Waves that I can use for a channel, okay? So basically, that's the browser. And then Mix is where you see your mixer pull up here, okay? So right now, it's an empty song, so you don't see any channel populate in here yet, okay? But we're gonna get there. So first thing first, before you do anything, you should go into the I/O, which is this button right here. You click on it. You need to set up the I/O. However the mixer is, you need to set up exactly in here. You see that you have the input tab and the outputs tab, okay? For the input tab, these three show up by default. You don't need it. You just go ahead and delete it, okay? So what you see right now is a row of channel. This horizontal row of channel here is actually the list of all the physical channel on your mixer. So right now you see my mixers is StudioLive RM32 AI. It's listed right here. And then I have 32 channel on this mixer, right? So from 1 to 32 physical input. And then after that, aux buses, show up here. You're not going to use any aux buses in here. All you do is set up Studio One exactly how your mixer was set up, okay? So let's go back to the mixer for a minute. If you go back to the mixer, you see that the first two channel 1 and 2, stereo link together to become a stereo channel, okay? And that's exactly what you need to do in Studio One. You go back to Studio One, you need to create a stereo channel. Okay, so I hit add stereo and change this name to drum. After you do that, it automatically populates 1 and 2, which is correct because that's what you need, on channel 1 and 2. All right, so channel 1 and 2 are used for drum, okay? And then the next two channel would be overhead. Overhead is also a stereo link, left and right stereo channel. I go back in here and do the same thing, add another stereo, rename it to overhead, and it's automatically populate channel 3 and 4. The next channel will be a mono guitar, so I'm going to add a mono channel and name it guitar 1, okay? Because this is my acoustic guitar number 1 here. And so on, okay? So that's how you go on and create new channel and you put into this input section, okay? You're going to take your time and do all of that for 32 channel, okay? Let me go to the output and do the same thing. Go to output tab. You see main here, it cannot be deleted. So right now, I don't want main to be on 1 and 2, so I'm gonna move it to 33 and 34, so get out of the way. Right now, I'm gonna add a stereo channel and call it drum. But I wanna make this as like an output, so I'm gonna make an arrow out of it and then say drums, okay? So whenever I see an arrow before a label or a name, then I know that's the output, okay? It's just for my reference. When I look at that thing, I don't wanna be confused by the other input, okay? And then I'm gonna add another channel and name it overhead, okay? And then add a mono channel and name it guitar 1. So you see the pattern I'm doing? So I try to create all the input. So your label would go vertical here, okay? And the physical channel on the mixer would go horizontal like this. So make sure you match them up. Do the same thing for the output. By the end of the process, this is what you get, okay? Let me go back to my song here and go to the I/O. So you see that for the input tab, I have all the channels set up and then output the same thing. All right, I hope you get that part. Let me go back to the other song, empty song here. Once you've done that, this area right here is where you create your channel, okay? So when you create a channel, it would populate in this area here and also the mixer. I can right click on this area and say add the stereo channel and automatically you see the drum will show up. I would name it drum also, okay? So I know that's a drum. And once you do a stereo channel, it's automatically look like a stereo, two circles right next to each other. That's stereo. And then you go down here to the channel. You see that this tab right here is very important. This top name is input and the bottom name is output, okay? So right now, automatically when I create it, it takes the drum input and it output to main. But for this session, for this application, I don't use main, okay? The reason I don't use main because it's not a song. It's not a real song that you mix, a lot of channel and then you mix down to a main bus. No, this is not about that. This is just to use the processing power of Studio One and return the signal back to the mixer, okay? What do I mean by that? So basically you receive the signal from the mixer, okay? And then in Studio One, you process that signal and you return to the same channel. That's why you have the input part and then you have the output part so that you can return to exact same channel. So right now, if I pick drum as my input and then on the output, I also pick the arrow drum, okay? So that's the output drums, okay? So input with the channel 1 and 2 and output back to channel 1 and 2 on my mixer, okay? Let's do another one for the overhead, okay? Let's just say I decided to use the overhead with some plugins, okay? So I'm gonna do right click and add a stereo channel and I call this one overhead, okay? And then I also send overhead as an input and do overhead as an output, okay? Sorry, let me go back to the I/O, the overhead. I have to name it with the arrow, okay? Also the guitar, just to make sure that it looks like it's output. So right now, I'm sending overhead input in, and then I send it right back to the same channel 3 and 4 on the mixer. Okay, so if you keep doing that, you come up with a session like this one. Okay, so I have the drums on channel 1 and 2, and I have some plugins inserted, and then you can see that as you go, you see that I have all the channels set up same way. Okay, so like the guitar 1 will have will pass back to guitar 1, and guitar 2 will pass back to guitar 2 channel. The keyboard, Yamaha keyboard, pass back to Yamaha keyboard, and so on and so forth. Even the vocal, the same thing. The lead vocal 1 received from lead vocal 1, and then we passed it right back to lead vocal 1. So the signal will travel from the mixer through the firewire, go to the channel on Studio One, and then it's returned through the firewire back to the mixer. Okay. So that's how you set it up. But notice that on my session here, I don't have every channel, okay? So like you don't see that I use overhead because, you know, overhead it's just a stereo mics on top of the cymbals, on top of the drum set. So I don't need any plugin for that. I just need to capture the sound from those cymbals directly into the microphone and directly into the mixer. And that's all I need. So I don't use plugin for it. So I don't make a channel in here for the overhead. At this point, after you set up the I/O, after you set up all the channel, all you have to do is try out the plugin by putting it in here and then try it out to see which one that you like. You also want to pay attention to this thing right here. If you close it out, you won't see all the channel, but you slide it out, you can see of the input channel. You can even hide up some of them. So like these are gray out because I hide it, okay? So if I do this, they're gonna show up a lot more channel than that. But I don't wanna see it, so I'm gonna hide it like this. Another way to hide things is to hide by type, okay? So on your mixer, you have some audio channel, some virtual instrument channel, effect channels, bus channel. So right now, if I don't wanna see the mic bus, you know, on my mixer here, I can just turn it off and you see all the mic buses are gone. If I don't want to see the audio channel, I can turn it off, everything's gone. Okay, so basically a lot of audio channel on it. I can turn the audio back on, I can turn the effect channel on, I can turn the aux bus back on, and then you see everything. You know, like you can hide things and you can show things so that you don't clutter your mixer here, okay? Because you have, when you actually mix live sound, you have a very short time to do everything, so you want to be as efficient as possible. Another area that you want to pay attention is the output area, okay? So you can see all of the input here, but the output is very important too. So if you click on the output, this whole section sometimes is high like this, behind the main channel. Okay, let me open this one bigger so you can see. Okay, so you see this main is right here, right? But we're not going to use it. But sometimes behind it, you don't realize that if you can just put the cursor right at the border and you slide it out, these are all the output that you have, okay? I can slide all the way to the left if I want. And then remember those with the arrow is all the output are going to show up here, okay? So start out with the drum, and then overhead, guitar, all of these are the output channel, okay? So the output channel would go to the physical channel on the mixer, okay? So let me click on the output of the drum here. You see that channel 1 and 2 is actually the output of it, okay? So that's why drum output to channel 1 and 2 on the mixer. So if you look up here, you can see that I have some of the plugins in the output section instead of input section. It's just another way to put plugin into your setting. You don't have to put everything over here. I mean, some of the plugins I want to hide from here, so it won't be too much clutter here. Okay, so I put some of the plugin on the output. So that's how you see the output, but sometimes you don't see it because it's hide behind this main channel here. Okay. Another thing that you want to pay attention to is when you go to the Studio One option, you see that your mixer show up here, and then there's 2 tabs. Okay, you go to Audio Setup tab, and then you go to Audio Device, and you see that I picked 64 sample as the block size. You got to be careful with this one, because if you have 1024 here or 2048 here, it will have very audible latency that you cannot play live, okay? So I recommend you go as low as you can, okay? So at this point, you can go 32 if you want, or you can go 64 if you want. The only thing about this is, like, if you go too low, your CPU cannot keep it up, or the firewire that you send and receive so many channels at the same time. Sometimes 32 will be like overwhelming for the firewire and then CPU, okay? So as a compromise, I usually use 64 or 128 here. At my church, I probably use 128, and it's still okay for the live band to play without noticing a lot of latency, okay? At home, I use 64 because my computer is a little more powerful at home. And then over here, the next tab will be processing. Again, you can go minimum of dropout protection. That means that you use the max out CPU that you can. If your computer is very powerful, low or medium or okay option, and it protects you from pop and click during the time that you play live, okay? So choose it wisely here and test it out first before you put on a live show, okay? I hope you get everything from this video here. Once you set it up, all you have to do is find a way to work efficiently, because depend on how you set it up, depend on how you pass the signal, down the line here as in series, or sometimes you do parallel processing, then you're going to have a lot more channel, and sometimes you can get lost with the amount of channel that you have, because in lifestyle you want it to be as simple as possible. So when you need to fix something, you need to change something, it's right there for you to change. You don't have time to hunt for the channel. You need to know in and out of your mixer and the Studio One session here. After you set up all of the channels properly, now you want to see if the signal was passing through the firewire to Studio One and then return it correctly, okay? And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. All right, let's look at the new session here. Let's say I want to see if my guitar show up in here. Let me create a guitar channel. Right click and say add a mono channel. And then I send guitar 1 in it, and I return to guitar 1, okay? Just like before. If you go back to your mixer, you see that guitar 1 is this channel right here. Right now, if I go to the gear icon here and I say firewire, okay? If you leave it on analog, it would still passing the signal to Studio One, but it won't return to the channel. Okay, what I mean by that is, if I play the guitar right now, all right, you see the guitar signal come up and down on this channel right here, because it's the analog, okay? So for me to pass the signal to Studio One. It can be on analog or firewire, but for me to receive the channel back to this channel, I need to say firewire here, okay? And in Studio One, basically, I have to turn on this monitor here, okay? I turn it on. Okay, now you see the signal come up and down on that. And then you go back to the channel. You see it come back in here too. And now it's the process channel. Okay? The reason you don't hear anything different because I don't have any plugin on it yet. Okay? So basically I have no plugin. Whatever come into Studio One come back out the same way. Okay? Let's say if I put any plugin, I just have to click on the plus sign here and drop a plugin into this area. Okay? For example, if I take this sub tube, okay, and I put it on there, now you're gonna hear the difference. Okay, off. And then there's another useful tip that I want to give you for this thing is when you actually mixing live, you're going to have a lot of thing going on between your mixer and the Studio One. Okay, you flip back and forth between these two. Or if you have two monitor, that would be great because you have the mixer on one monitor and then the Studio One on the other, so that you can control both with one window. Okay, but for me, I just have one monitor. I just have one computer monitor in front of me, and I just flip between the mixer and Studio One, which is fine. I can handle it. You see, if I move this window around, you see it's actually a floating window. Okay, this window is actually my mixer here. Okay, so if I turn up the mix, you don't see that, but that's a mix. Okay, you turn on the mix, it's the floating window here. And you want it to be floating because you know you can just take it to any window you want, or you can take it up and down, or move it to the position that you like to work with. Okay, if you don't want it to float around, and you can click on this arrow right here to snap it back to the bottom screen here. So basically, on the bottom screen, it looked like this. It looked pretty cramped and squashed. Okay. Because on the bottom screen, you can see so much, okay? And you can extend it all the way up here, but then you can't really move it anywhere, okay? It's actually stuck there. So the tip for you is when you actually mix with live sound, I would just pop it out by clicking on arrow again, and now it pops out, and then you can even maximize it, okay? To any size of your window. Okay, so another tip when you use Studio One to process your signal here is that you can create multiple channels for one channel on the mixer. Okay, what do I mean by that? Let's say you have an acoustic guitar from channel 5 on your mixer. You can create many channels on your Studio One session for that channel 5, and then you can just select, you know, to use one thing at a time, depend on the situation, okay? For example, I already create the channel for the guitar 1, okay? It's from channel 5, and you see when I play, the signal come up, you see that, okay? Let's say another person that want to play on channel 5 another week, okay? Another guitar come in, he doesn't have the same guitar that I have, he have a different guitar, and then he want to use the channel 5. What I can do is this, I can duplicate this channel by right-click it and say duplicate track complete, okay? When I do that, it make another channel. I can also call it guitar 1, but I may put a name on it. So maybe another guy named Tom. So I put Tom on it. So I know that this channel is for Tom. And then in here, I can just go ahead and change something, you know, on the plugin, and you know, whatever appropriate for his guitar, I change it here. I maybe put an EQ on it, just for fun here. The Pro EQ I can throw on there for his guitar, okay? Who knows what I'm gonna do? There you go. So his guitar gonna sound different than my guitar. And then if I turn it on, you will see that I go to this channel right here, okay? So as you can see, we can draw as many channels in Studio One for that one guitar channel on the mixer, okay? So let's say person A play this one week, person B play this one, and then C, D, you know, whoever come up and have a different guitar and want to have a channel on channel 5. And I can create multiple channel in Studio One for that same channel on the mixer. Okay, so is that the end of the video? If you have any question, put it on the comment. I will see you in the next video for the setup of each instrument individually. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.